This is our marketing disclaimer. By being involved in this platform, you are authorizing permission for this to be videotaped and uploaded to our website and to use in marketing materials. Additionally, no reproduction or use of this video may be made without prior written consent. Thank you for joining us this morning for our We Protect the CAM series. Today's protecting one of your association's greatest assets. The team from ProServe Pools has a great presentation in store for you today. So again, thanks for being here to learn. We would love to see where everyone is joining from, and if you're a board member of or a CAM, if you wouldn't mind putting that information in the chat now, we would appreciate that. Speaking of the chat, if you have any questions during the presentation, we ask that you please either have them ready at the end to ask your questions or put it in the chat for us to address during the presentation. At the end, we will put the email address and phone number, contact information for ProServe so that you can contact them as well. It is our honor to introduce ProServe's owners, Wendy and Sean. After receiving his bachelor's, Sean Lane worked in corporate America for some time. He had worked for Tom with ProServe Pools when he was in high school and decided to get back into the industry. Bringing with him the tools and business essentials he learned along the way, his experience in corporations brought best practices to ProServe, and today it's a thriving local community-minded family-run business for nearly 40 years. So again, we're going to welcome Sean and Wendy Lane with ProServe Pools, and we also want to include in today's presentation Maria, who's the Field Operations Manager, and Tyler, who's the Renovation Construction Manager. So I'm going to turn it over to the four of them today so that they can get started.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. That was a great introduction. So this is our ProServe family and team. My name is Wendy Lane, like Lindsay mentioned, and I'm the business manager here at ProServe Pools. So thank you for joining us on our roundtable discussion today on how to help protect the CAM. Our job is to help you make great decisions for your pool and your community and to keep our swimmers safe. Sean is also a licensed pool contractor, and we'll tell you a little bit about why that is so important to have on your pool property. Maria is joining us today to talk to us a little bit. She runs our installation and repair division. She'll talk a little bit about heaters and why it's important, water chemistry, how that impacts your heaters. And then Tyler runs our commercial renovation and construction division here at our property, and what water chemistry can do to impact your pool finish. So at the end of our discussion, we'll stay around to answer any questions that you might have, and we welcome you, if you're in the area, to stop by our showroom and say hi to us. We're here 7 a.m. to about 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we're located at 5950 South Ridgewood Avenue in Port Orange, right across from Hidden Treasure. So stop by and say hi to us, and meet Monique, who runs our office here. And with that, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of documentation. Why is that important when it comes to water chemistry? What does that really look like, and how does that impact everything that has to do with your pool? So Sean, if you'd like to take over that part.
Absolutely. I'd like to start with a picture that shows.
And Wendy, if you guys will hit screen sharing again, I don't think it's showing on the screen for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
You should have a picture of two beautiful blue pools.
I think it's loading. Yep, we got it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So a common scenario for us throughout the week is to go up and get called out to a pool. And now take a look at the two pools in this picture here. They're both blue, nice, inviting. Can anyone tell which of those two pools is destroying the heater? No, you can't tell by looking at that. You know, it's very common. We'll go out and the customer will say, listen, we pass all of our inspections. We get inspected 2 days out of 365. 2 days, the health department will come out and we pass our inspections. Pool looks great. Tile might be a little bit dirty, but why is the water chemistry so important? So Maria, can you share a little bit when you go, you'll get called out on a service call, and the call will be, hey, my heater's not working. What's one of the first things that you have to do in regards to a warranty?
Check the water chemistry. Have to check for the alkalinity and the hardness, and make sure that it's within the proper range. So I know whether or not it's going to be eating away that heat exchanger.
That's right.
So those two chemicals aren't really being tested though, or looked at with the inspectors, right?
No.
They're looking for the sanitation of the property
That's
to
right.
make sure your swimmers are safe sanitation wise. But when it comes to the heater chemicals, those really aren't being looked at through the health inspector report. So
Yeah,
just to keep in mind.
you're right. The point is, there's not really a safety concern regarding alkalinity. Now, alkalinity will cause pH to bounce, but when the inspector's there, the pH could be, within the range that the code gives. And by the way, the code was expanded, so it's a bigger range now. But that $5,000 gas heater, or if you've got two of them, the pool on the right's got at least two. That's over 100,000 gallon pool. So they've got at least $10,000 worth of heaters. Let's say they bought those heaters last season. They're still under warranty, but when you're asked to open that heater up and do an inspection on it, and you see what you see,
It's voided.
It's voided.
Yeah.
So there's a financial impact to not being diligent with water chemistry. That's for sure. Well, what's a second thing? It's a little harder to see, but if you look in the gutter, that finish, what's another item that you could say is probably going on in that pump room?
If they have an old like cast iron pump, then
Right.
it's definitely eating away that as well.
Mhm.
So if you have low alkalinity, it's taking all the metal off of your pump and your heat exchanger and putting it back into the water, which then stains the finish of the pool.
Exactly. So a very acidic water chemistry is not only eating away at that copper heat exchanger, but it's also eating away at that brass impeller and cast iron pump housing, right?
Yep.
That's exactly right. So, if you look at the cost of a pool pump for a commercial pool, can range from $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000.
Mhm.
So, our point in making this to you is why it matters. A lot of times we'll get called out and the property said, well, again, we passed our inspection, the water's blue, tile might be a little dirty, but there is a financial impact to not balance the water. How hard is it to balance and have that alkalinity in check?
Not hard at all.
It's not hard. No, not at all. So the point would be, and then Tyler, what about on the calcium side? Why is that so important?
Well, calcium always wants to be, so pool water wants to be perfect. So it's going to pull that calcium from your plaster to make that water perfect.
Right.
And it's going to take years off the plaster. Due to lack of calcium and alkalinity, it's one of the leading causes of premature equipment failure and premature plaster failure.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond the staining of the pool, you're also losing years of life out of your plaster.
So if you walk up to a pool and it's got a stainless steel handrail or ladder and it's starting to turn a color, describe a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so what's actually happening is that water is going to start eating at those metals on your handrail, your lights, your ladders, and you're going to turn all of that stainless hardware black, and it's not appealing to the eyes.
That's right. So to move on from water chemistry, there is a financial impact, even though it's blue, to not managing it properly. Voids of warranty, it's clearly stated on the warranty, clearly stated in the owner's manual. Don't install this heater until they're properly balanced, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. So here's the to-do. Go down to the pump room, go back to your service provider, your maintenance team, and ask them, do you have sodium bicarbonate? It's this very simple, safe piece of chemistry that's required, and it should be stored on site so they can be used. We've got properties that every time we go, we have to add it, right? Secondly, do they have calcium? All right, let's go to a next area where there's nothing inviting about a pump room, but that pump room is extremely important to the life and maintenance of that pool.
It's the heartbeat of your pool.
That's right, and it literally is. It absolutely is. So Maria, as you get called out to look at a problem in a pump room, what are some risks that you see with the installation on the that left-hand picture? What's the problem with that?
The first thing that is an eyesore for me is the return side plumbing. They use non-pressure rated sweeps instead of pressure rated plumbing. So that is a risk in the future. Potentially those can crack or expand and then, you know, flood your pump room. Another thing that I see is that it's a single speed pump. So, you know, it's working harder, it's costing more money on your electric bill every month. You know, where on the right, that's a variable speed. So we have the ability to adjust the speed, and instead of pulling 14 amps, you're pulling around two amps. So, you know, it's saving you a bunch of money.
Let's put that in dollars. What have you typically, the metrics you've garnered, what did you take the monthly spend from electrical down to?
So a lot of properties, they're different, but the biggest one we've seen is $300 to around $50 a month.
That's right. Yeah, and the question of, hey, is this pump even running?
Yeah, they're also a lot. The variable speed are way, like, they're not as noisy. So, you know, if you go to a pump room and it's a single speed, you can be up to 90 decibels and it's like super loud. But if you switch to variable speed, you know, sometimes you can't even tell the pump is running and it's around 70 decibels. Yeah.
And the property's gotten used to that sound, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, this is nice, right? Well, I would say, going back to the picture on the left, that was not done by a licensed and insured contractor. There's no way that was done. So to do plumbing work, you have to be a licensed contractor, either a plumbing or a pool contractor, to do that type of work. And there's no way that was done. What typically happens, if we found in some properties, is they'll have either a maintenance team, or they'll even their CPO, certified pool operator, which is a certificate. They're not licensed to do that type of work. And so you end up with, that's a risk. That pump room could flood. What's the other problem with that type of plumbing?
It's creating a bunch of total head on the pump.
Right.
So because it's 2 inches and not upgraded to the 2.5 to 3 inch plumbing,
Right.
It's putting a lot of pressure on your pump, which is making it work harder and potentially killing the lifespan of that.
That's exactly right, for sure. So I think the point that we'd like to make here is that motor is going to go. So it's common, we get a call every day that a pump is down on a commercial property. And the property will, of course, be, we'll call it budget conscious, or they're trying to save money. Be wary of that. Be extremely wary. Our recommendation would be for the pump on the left to fix the plumbing, bring it up to code, bring it up to the proper hydraulics that would be efficient. And then the other one would be to cut that and throw away that old pump. Do not put a single speed motor, replacement motor on there. The cost for the single speed motor is going to be here, but we're going to recommend what's done on the right-hand side, which the cost is going to be more than double. But in the long run, it's going to pay for itself through energy savings. And the other problem is the motors just don't last the way they used to. What we've seen after COVID is they don't last. So we'd like to encourage the folks on the line, don't look for a cheap price for a motor replacement. Look for the right solution, which is proper plumbing and pump.
Well, and also another key takeaway too, when the hurricanes came this last season, Maria, can you speak to what you did to save these pumps?
So with the pump on the right, we're able to remove it. So every time there was a potential flooding on a property that we know is known for flooding, we would remove the pump and then reinstall it, so that way it didn't flood or get damaged.
Well, is it easier to remove because of what?
There's technology. Unions. There's unions on the pump on the right, so you just literally unscrew it and take it out.
Okay, versus the left-hand side is just, you just can't do that. So again, being proactive and saving your property money when the hurricanes come, as they always do in Florida. If you have this new technology, you're able to save your pump, and then when the hurricanes have gone, reinstall that pump and you're back up and running in no time. So there's more cost savings on the back end when it comes to that as well. It's just a line item you have to put in and budget for, but we have to budget for everything. So just for being proactive about it, you don't have to have the shell shock to your consumers and your customers.
That's right. Yeah, great point about the hurricane. That's exactly right. Let's move off of the equipment, the pump, and let's move to the health of the pool itself. So let me say again, my pool's clear, passing those inspections that come twice a year, everything's good. The reality is if you don't know what's going on in that pump room and the health of that pool, there's a lot of additional costs that can happen. So how about this as an example? So the state of Florida requires that that's monthly log be used on a commercial pool. So it's tracking. So just like if you have your grandparents or your mother or father's in a nursing home or a care facility or in the hospital, or you're in the hospital, that doctor and that nurse in that facility has to track your well-being, your progress, those kind of things, so that they have a history of what's happening, so they can make things better, right? With this example, I get called out all the time, several times a week. This one, though, was advanced play. So this technician, whoever it is, they decided that they were going to use that monthly log that's meant for 1 month, but they're going to use it for August, September, and October. 3 months for this log, which I thought was interesting. The other thing was when I asked the property, well, is the pool company provider technician, are they coming every day? No, they're coming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But if you look at the log, they're coming every day. So this person is not really, they're doing what's called pencil whipping. They're really not telling the truth. So does that matter? What does that mean to you? If someone is taking care of your biggest asset on your property and they're not telling the truth about what's going on, can you believe anything? I don't know if I can believe any of those readings. So a better example would be, look at this log. So in this log, you don't have to really understand any of the readings or check marks or documentation. What you see is, and this is what the health department has told us, is they see diligence. You want to go down and you want to ask for, say, can I see the log at your property? Remember, they're managing your most important asset. Can I see that log? On that log, do I know who to contact if there's a problem? Does the health department know who to contact and call and email or text if there's a problem? Maria, what else do you see here that from a repair perspective is helpful if you get called out on a service call?
Well, it's a history of the pool. So,
Right.
On the log on the right, it shows the flow rate, the pressure, the vacuum rate. So, by following those items, you can see whether or not your grids are dying faster or, if things need to be replaced. It also shows that, if you're getting enough flow to the heater,
Right.
because heaters need a proper flow rate to work correctly as well. It's also documenting the chemicals that are actually being put in the pool. So we know that there's diligence being done to protect the equipment.
Right, the heater, like the first example in pump, that's exactly right. And what if, we'll get a common question from property about, like you said, grids, so filter replacement. So if they're documenting that pool is being backwashed every time they go.
That's a good indication that the grids are bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they could be acid washed and degreased, and they could try that attempt first, but so that's right. Any other points about the log that you guys see?
Yeah, if you have a log that isn't properly filled out, it takes maybe, what do you say, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to fill out a log. If they're not going to take the 20 or 30 seconds to fill out a log, are they doing the rest of, their responsibilities, their ethical requirements?
Right.
Are they putting the bicarb in? Are they managing the calcium level? Are they cleaning those filters? Are your chemical feeders working? If they won't fill out the log, I'm having a hard time believing that.
Well, good point. Good point. We don't expect the viewers to see it, but some of those check marks are literally checking, is the chlorine that full? Does the chemical feeders work? So the technician's literally checking yes. Like the first example, I wouldn't leave anything on that log because we know the person's only there 3 times a week. So there is a moral responsibility to tell the truth and to track all that.
So the log key takeaway is the medical heartbeat of your pool. It is the medical chart. You should be keeping these logs. It will show you, like Tyler said, Maria, a history of the health of your pool. So you can go back, today is June the 1st. What was your pool doing last June the 1st?
Right.
What did it look like? What were the flow rates? Maybe your pool has cycles to it. In the summertime, it's probably used a lot more. And what does that mean to the budget line items you have to be prepared for? Do you have to, change out your grids more often in the summertime? Your log will tell you that if it's being documented properly. Not just the chemical side of things, but the equipment side of things, which are so costly to pools. But again, if your pool is not being maintained properly, it's going to cost you a lot more on the back end. So a properly done pool log or the medical chart of your pool will tell you so much and help you be more proactive with your budget and to keep your consumers and swimmers healthy and happy.
That's right. And it's also a recipe for the what chemicals are being added to that pool. That's exactly right. So another area to move off of the log, which is really the Bible of that, or you called it a chart.
Medical chart.
Medical chart. I like that reference. That's a great reference for that, Wendy. What about, Maria, you get these calls a lot about a property, a CAM will say, well, wait a minute, we got, our pump is down. We just replaced that pump. So it's important to have what we call an equipment profile. Can you share a little bit about that?
It's basically just like a log history of all the equipment at the property. So we document exactly what you have, so we know it's there beforehand. It also tells us when we installed it last. So, you know, if there is questions about whether it's not under warranty, we know.
Right.
And you know, it gives us an indication of like your history. So
Let's go back to that pump example.
Yeah.
I always think that's funny. We just bought a new pump. For a commercial property with a spa, how many pumps do they have? How many could they have?
2, up to 2.
Yeah.
A therapy pump or a main circulation pump.
Yeah, just for the spa, and then you got the pool. The
Yeah.
pool's going to have a minimum of how many pumps?
Another 2.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. What about chemical feeders? Hey, we just replaced that chemical feeder.
I mean, a spa can have 2, a pool can have 2. So, you know,
Right.
that's 4 more equipment there.
That's right.
There's a lot of stuff going on in that pump room.
Okay. So it's important. The financial payback to this is, one, with a proper equipment profile, now we can track for warranty. So if it's under warranty, and that you paid for the warranty when you bought the initial install, right? So now we can track that. We also can budget better, because now we got a complete inventory of a profile of all the pumps that we have and chemical feeders. And okay, good. Any other points for that?
It's a big time saver too. You have all your
Right.
equipment that's been profiled.
Sure.
When you call your provider and you say,
Right.
hey, my pump is out, well, what is it?
That's
Do
right.
you know? So with that being said, when you have the profile, you can call your company, let them know what's down. They can get it on order. So during that summer heat, that Memorial Day weekend, the 4th
Right.
of July weekend, that pump isn't going to take a week or 2 to get there, or a month. It's
Sure.
going to take quite a bit less time, I think.
That's right. So, our job is to protect the CAM, protect the property. So a great, pool contractor, they're going to have that mindset that we're going to log all this so that we can help. As imperfect as we are, that's what a good company will do. That's right. So I would ask, or if I was a CAM, I would go back to my pool contractor and ask them if they've got all that information. Because once again, a CPO is not licensed to replace anything in that pump room or do plumbing. Maria, let's move now to, it's the 4th of July weekend, and we've got a problem with a spa, a feeder just broke. What's an example of a technology that can help make sure that we can proactively go fix that?
So now on the market, there are ORPs that connect to like a web base. So we have access to that feeder. With that, we know the history of what is being pumped into the spa. We know the chemicals. It also has like an alerting feature. So, if it's a feeder is down, it's going to let us know. If the chemicals are out of balance, it's going to let us know. So, we can proactively save the 4th of July weekend by knowing these things and not just showing up on the Monday with a crazy spa.
That's right. And in this business, a couple of times a year, you'll get where a guest of a property is saying, oh, the chlorine has damaged my bathing suit, or oh, now I've got this other problem, and I'm calling Morgan and Morgan, right? And we're like, oh, geez, not. So with this, we can document. We can show that the chlorine level was at the right level, and we can show that it was sanitized, and so that would stand up, in court. Those kind of things. So in addition to ensuring that you're open on the 4th of July when your guests are there, there's also this technology can help with risk. Let's now move to a checklist. So we're going to summarize this out for you. We would encourage you, going back to the theme of this, webinar is to how do you protect the CAM, the property, and your most important, highest used asset. And this is what the checklist we've come up with. Number one, are there written standard operating procedures? Something very common that happened 2 nights ago was a pump room flooded. It's a pump room. And so the operating procedure there is real simple. We've got written operating procedures that you want to communicate to the property. Maria and Tyler, what's your point on water chemistry?
Are they actually testing the alkalinity and hardness?
Right.
Because again, those are the 2 chemicals that protect and save your pumps and your heaters and the finish of your pool. So
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Like Tyler said, water is going to get what it wants. It's going to pull calcium from that plaster, which is going to reduce the life of that plaster, and it's going to void the warranty.
Yeah.
Wendy, what about the health log? You called it the medical record.
Well, again, just go down into that pump room, ask to see the log, see what's being written down there. It'll tell you a lot about the technician servicing your pool, and it'll tell you a lot about the health of your pool. And if you don't see those chemicals that we've just mentioned, then maybe your pool plaster is taking a hit. And if you have a heater on board, maybe it's going to be experiencing some issues down the road. So not everyone adds the appropriate number of chemicals needed to keep your equipment up and running. So it's a key piece of documentation that really should be looked at from time to time.
Oh, for sure. And Tyler made a good point too. That what's the number one reason why we get calls on heaters?
Lack of flow.
Lack of flow.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you should be easily able to identify whether your pool has proper flow on the log.
That's right.
The state mandated every pool has a minimum flow they're required to have.
That's right.
So on that log that you have, it should state what the flow was the day the technician went there to service your pool.
That's right. So that log is so important. In the world of Morgan & Morgan and Dan Newland, we get rampaged by those crazy commercials, lowering the risk. So going back to what Maria said about proactively monitoring and receiving alerts when there's a problem with the pool, this is all affordable equipment. It's just a matter of properties understanding how important that is. Maria, what about the ROI of a pump?
It's the only pump that saves you money. So
Right.
It's a good investment because, instead of, again, spending $300 a month on electricity, you can now boil it down to 30, which now allows you to have a better budget in the future too, because you're not getting that money back. So.
That's right. You're getting a check back. We used to say wait till the motor dies.
Yeah.
And now we're like, wait a minute, we were wrong. That's absolutely wrong. When do you want to start saving money? When do you want to start saving $200 a month in electrical, or $250 or whatever it is?
It's like a flip phone versus a smartphone. Technology is just changing, and we have to adapt to the new technology.
Correct. Right. To me, single speed motors for main circulation pumps are almost criminal. Saltwater conversion, that when our cost of chlorine has more than doubled over the last couple of years. And so saltwater conversion is an efficient, proactive way to manage your spend. It absolutely is. Maria, what about the preseason refresh?
So preseason refresh is pretty ideal for property, especially if you have heaters. It allows your contractor to come out before you're trying to even start up your heater, so if it's running or not, and you don't have everybody in your property saying your heater's not working when it's supposed to be running. So you should have somebody come out and take apart the heater before you want to start running it and make sure everything is working and it's up to standards.
Stop the residents from complaining the water's cold, right?
Yeah,
it's very simple. Do the preseason. Tyler, what about the pool life finish? Why is that important to a board and a camp?
Renovations are not cheap. They're very costly. It's something that you have to be able to plan for and budget. I always recommend an ethical company to come look at your pool, see what they think your pool life is, have them give you an estimate so you and your board can get together, start planning for the future. You don't want it to come up really quick, and you want to have the budgeting for it.
So to close out on the checklist, these are the areas that we would suggest as a pool contractor that specializes in the commercial field, that you make sure that you're looking at each one of those.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. We will stay on after if you have any questions. But some key takeaways, I think, from today's presentation is Water chemistry, besides the adding the 2 chemicals that the inspectors look for, what else is being added to your pool to maintain the finish and to maintain the equipment at its proper pace? Technology is changing in the pool industry. We're adapting and growing and becoming more sophisticated. So take a look at some of those saltwater conversions or different pumps, some different types of equipment that's going to keep the heartbeat of your pool, the pump room, that crazy pump room, running at efficiency so that your swimmers are safe and that you're not overspending on those line items. And when it comes to pool finish, like Tyler said, renovations are very expensive, but it's a cost of having a pool. Just like having a home, you have to repaint your home every so often. You have to do the finish every so often too. But knowing the health and the integrity of your pool finish now can tell you what to budget for in the future. So again, we welcome you to come by ProServe Pools at any time. We're here to say hello, stop in for coffee, get out of the heat or get out of the cold. Come say hi to our dogs running around in the backyard. And we're here to stay on for any questions that you might have.